Hey, what's good, everybody? Thanks for hopping in the car with Christian Addiction Recovery, the channel where like-minded individuals that face similar struggles can come so that we can learn and discuss new ways to live our best life possible and overall become the best versions of ourselves. Hey, before I get started, go ahead and smash that like for me. Smash that like, smash it. All right. Hey, and also comment down below. I really want to know what topics you need to learn about. Okay. This is not for me. This is for all of us to learn and grow together. All right. So last video I was talking about gratitude and I started to touch on reframing. Okay. And I talked about how reframing is essentially taking the way you look at something and reframing it to look at the same situation from a different perspective. Gratitude is great, but when you can barely get out of bed, it's hard to think about getting to that place where you're thankful for everything in your life. And I believe that's where reframing comes in. And when I was doing biblical research on this topic, the scripture that really came to my mind was, "Be not conformed to the patterns of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." And the thing is that the enemy wants to conform us to be a slave, okay? A slave to the system. You know, I talk about this, that I don't really necessarily think that the devil is always in our ear whispering to us. I believe he set up these systems to program us into the negative thinking. And I believe that he's been doing that since we were very young. If you go back to school, it's do what you're told, stay in line. If you're a free thinker or you step outside of that and you have an original thought, teachers can shame you, kids can say you're stupid, and it could really just cause emotional pain if you are not part of the system. And so what does that do? It gets us back into line. It conforms us again. And so we get lulled into that sense of being comfortable. And even that sense of comfortable can be really tied into depression. And you can be comfortable where you're at and still be depressed. In fact, I think there's many people in the world that are in that position. Okay, so we understand that we're not supposed to be conformed. So how do we get unconformed? How do we change our thinking? Changing our thinking is hard. But reframing can be like baby steps into that transformation of the mind. One of the first things that we need to reframe is to understand that we are all individual creations. None of us are alike. It's our individuality that defines us. And about a year ago, I took some personality tests, and it was really awesome learning about my strengths and my weaknesses in my personality. But another thing I did was also studied many other personality types. And quite honestly, that was probably even more beneficial than learning about my own, because I realized that there are so many different thought processes and all these different type of personalities. And then in each one of those thought processes of the personality, you have a male's perspective, a woman's perspective, and there's just an endless amount of differences in all of our individual thinking. The second thing that will really help you in your life is to reframe the fact that you don't have to do anything, okay? You don't have to go to your job. You have the choice that you could quit your job. You have the option if you're gonna pay a bill or not gonna pay a bill. And the thing is, these other choices may not be the best option, but just realizing that you have choices really takes the pressure off of everyday life. I remember when I was talking to my therapist, I was saying something, and it was early in my therapy, but I was saying, I can't remember what it was, but I've got to do this, or I've got to, and she was like, why? And I couldn't come up with a reason. You know, I just allowed other people's expectations and my own expectations to set this bar of all these things that I needed to do. And then when I realized that, yeah, I might make some people mad, but I really don't have to do anything. I don't have to do anything. It was an awesome, awesome step in the right direction of reframing my reality. The next thing that you could start working on is just reframing things and realizing things aren't that bad. For instance, I was talking to my therapist and I was saying, I can't get any of my businesses right. I've had 6 failed businesses in my past, and I was just going on about all of that. And she was like, well, have you ever made money on a business? And I was like, yeah. I have a company that makes money every year. And she's like, well, how long have you been making? Has it been more than 2 years? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, that, just so you know, is a successful business by definition. So when talking about all of my businesses that I tried to start and the ones that failed, I could say, well, I've failed on all these businesses. And the other way I could frame it is I've started one successful business. And another way I could frame it is I've started one of many to come successful businesses. A good way of practicing reframing is by taking a situation and just coming up with as many options and different ways to look at that situation. Reframing is not necessarily always just picking the right frame or the easiest frame or the wrong frame. The way to practice reframing is to see it from each of those different aspects. And really, the more aspects that you discover and the more options and different ways to frame it, the more you realize that you have many choices. And the more choices that you realize you have, the more pressure is relieved from you. A good way to reframe obstacles in your life is to see them as challenges. For instance, when I was just living my life before making a lot of bad decisions, a couple of those decisions wound me up in legal trouble, and I had to go to jail for a few of them. Now, at the time, my perspective was, wow, this sucks, I have to go to jail. But once I got inside of jail, I was able to reframe that and realize, hey, this is an opportunity to get my life right. So this necessarily wasn't a bad thing. As a matter of fact, it was a good thing. And I'll make a video that will really list out a bunch of different ways to reframe different situations and give you plenty of examples. I just wanted to make a video touching base on what reframing is and how it plays a part in all of these other aspects, such as gratitude and suffering. Lastly, I wanted to talk about reframing the amount of importance that we put on something. And this is just a crude example, but for instance, the Super Bowl. Because regardless of how that turns out, life is going to go on. And regardless of who wins, unless you bet a lot of money, nothing's going to change in your life. It's just going to be another day. Whoever wins the Super Bowl, you still go to work in the morning. The other guy wins the Super Bowl, you still go to work in the morning. So guys, reframing will help you to gain a different perspective on your life. That's really what it's all about. And when you start learning reframing, then you can start finding all these areas in your life that actually you're grateful for. You just have not been grateful up to this point. So it's very important to learn and find out if you are being conformed to this world. A good way of knowing that is, are you following the trends? Do you adjust your boundaries and your beliefs based on what social media expects? Do you take a post down because it said that you aren't supposed to talk about something that you know is right? If you do those things, then you are being conformed by the patterns of this world. Now, there are a lot of patterns of this world, so I'm not just saying those are the only ones, but if you start paying attention to what's going on in your life, try to find out if you're doing what everybody else is doing or if you're doing what God wants you to do. I looked up the definition for transformation, and it's the metamorphosis during the life cycle of an animal. That's one of the ways of putting it. We are animals, okay? We are mammals, we know that. We are not supposed to be the same. We're supposed to develop through life. And this world wants to start getting us comfortable and into these areas and into these zones where we don't think that we need to grow, right? And the reason why is because he's caused pain when we stepped outside of those comfortable places. But we're gonna have to push through the pain if we want to grow. If you want to have this good life that I've found, and you want to be the kind of content that I am, which I promise you do. You may not think that you do, but you do, because it's amazing. But you're going to have to experience some pain that is outside of your normal comfort zone. Our minds want to go to the easiest path. It wants to take the easiest route. And the enemy knows that. So he plays off that. And he has developed these systems to suck us in to these comfortable areas, to be conformed by the patterns of this world. Let me tell you, the mind is an excellent servant, but a terrible master. I'm sure that you've probably heard that said. And it is so true. If you are being conformed to the patterns of this world, guess what? Your mind is your master. It's time to take it back. It's time for it to become your servant. Good mental health gives you back control of your mind. Mindfulness gives you back control of your focus. Gratitude gives you back control of your serotonin and your dopamine. These things will absolutely transform your life. So please subscribe, stay tuned, okay? This channel is gonna benefit you, even if you don't really feel like making the transformation now. Subscribe, bookmark it, and come back when you're ready to really make a change. God needs more free people to wake people up, okay? We are here to establish his kingdom on earth, and it is us telling other people the good news that they don't have to be conformed to the patterns of this world, that there is a way out, that there is an answer. And his name is Jesus, and he brings you salvation, but it is us and this work that levels us up. Jesus said that we are like gods, and we are. We have the Spirit of God inside of us. We were made in his image. But when we are conformed to the patterns of this world and just doing what the devil wants us to do, we're not being like gods. So to truly step into everything that has been ordained for you and every blessing that you're supposed to have, we have to not be conformed to the patterns of this world. And we have to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. If you've been to church, people will always say that the transforming of the mind is reading the Bible. And that is absolutely 100% true. But also, practicing the things that we talk about on this channel are literally going to rewire and reprogram your brain and renew your mind. Jesus meditated. He went to the desert for 40 days and 40 nights before he started his ministry. We need meditation in our life. We need mindfulness in our life. We need to raise our awareness so that we can just know if we're being conformed to the patterns of this world. If we're just on autopilot, then most likely we are conformed. So it's time to wake up your mind. Wake up your spirit. Wake up. Stop being asleep. There's so much more to life than Netflix. I haven't even turned on the TV in 2 weeks. And that is huge for me because I don't think I ever had the TV off before. So I really hope you'll join me, guys. Hey, comment down below. Tell me if you think that I did all right on this video. Smash that like if you haven't already. Smash the dislike if I did a bad job. I'd really love to know that I need to do better if that's what I need. I really hope I've helped a little bit. I will do another video that talks about reframing more. As I was studying this, there's just so much information that I would like to get to you, but we'll just start with this. Be not conformed to the patterns of this world and be transformed by the renewing of your mind. All right, guys. Peace!